Hi guys, my name is Sean. I'm a houseplant enthusiast from Jakarta, Indonesia. I like to figure out how to care for different plant species and to propagate them. I experiment with them, propagate them in multiple ways, and then share that experience with you here on YouTube. So if you're into that kind of videos, please do consider subscribing to my channel and send this video a like. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the Ficus lyrata. This is the bambino, which is the mini version in my hands. But the care and propagation is very similar to the regular size Ficus lyrata, as well as a lot of the ficus plants that we know, like the Ficus elastica. So all of the tips and tricks are applicable there as well. Yeah, a lot of you guys are having issues with new Ficus lyrata that you brought them home. First of all, it's not your fault. They really are creatures of habit. They like to be where they are. Second of all, they do need brighter light than you think, or that most home conditions can afford to give them. You need to give them really bright light. Some of them actually live in full sun, although if they are not acclimatized to that, they will burn in full sun or direct sunlight. The best tip that I can give you is to figure out where they have been grown and see what kind of light they've been getting and try to replicate that sunlight. And then if you need to move them somewhere, like indoors or whatever, move them slowly, like, I don't know, inch them over the next few weeks so that they're not so stressed out. Or you just move them, let them stress out, let them drop a few leaves, and let them get used to the conditions that they will be in, because the new leaves that grow from them are going to be adapted to that condition. And with them, they do like bright indirect light and some direct sunlight. This one is grown in full sun. I've had a few that is grown in full sun and they do burn because they're used to being in lower light situations. So just keep that in mind. That sunlight actually affects their growth speed, because they're actually quite slow growers if you put them in somewhere where there's not enough light. In terms of potting mix, I give them a general purpose potting mix, heavily amended with perlite, of course, burnt rice hulls, and worm casting. And I love terracotta pot because this plant can be really overwatered very easily and they're not very forgiving. Leaves will yellow up and fall off. That's a sign of one, overwatering, and two, under not enough light. It could be also the combination of the two. So if you put them somewhere where it's not as bright, you want to water them less because they're not going to be drinking up that extra moisture in the potting mix. So yeah, you only want to water them when they're bone dry. If you're new to plants, get a moisture meter and probe it often. So you want to only water it immediately when it reads bone dry. The pot size matters, the age of the plant matters, and whether you have it indoors and outdoors, of course, the drying out period is very different. So just adjust accordingly. In terms of fertilizing, this plant actually responds really well to fertilizing. Of course, when I say that, it doesn't mean that you want to go crazy and douse it with fertilizer. I just noticed that whenever I do fertilize it, whether it's with my worm casting or slow release fertilizer or the chemical fertilizer, which is the Grow More, which immediately hits the plant, I dilute everything a lot, and make sure that it doesn't burn the roots. So when I do that, I notice that over the next 2 or 3 weeks, it will grow really crazy. It'll push out some new growth. And pests, the scale love this plant a lot. They're these armored insects that are usually brown in color or reddish. And yeah, they look like pimples on the plant, but these are actually scale. And they would, one of the indication would be to find some sticky substance on the leaves, because when they bite the plant, the sap will drip down to the leaves below. So that's one way that you can see them. And I know that some people have issues with spider mites and things like that. However, I had mine. I had this indoors before, and now I moved it outdoors where it's happier. Of course, the lawnmower is going right now. Sorry. I stopped seeing any pests when it lived outside, but when it lived indoors, I was bombarded with pests. This plant needs to be cleaned very often. Dust do gather on the leaf surface very easily and on the crevices. So you want to hose them down if it's outdoors, or if it's indoor, you want to wipe them down. I actually have insecticidal soap, which is actually very good to clean the leaves with. But you can also use a little bit of just water, and if there's some hard water stains, a little bit of lemon juice. That's the best thing to go. A lot of people use leaf shine. I'm against it only because, I don't know, I just don't think that stuff is probably healthy for the plants. And some people in extreme situations use dish liquid, and I would say use that only, dish liquid soap, I would only say use it only when there's pest pressures, because that would really kill the aphids and scale on the leaves. Other than that, don't do it on a routine. They're very slow growers, but the minute they grow, the apical bud right on the top here, it will start bursting, I think 4 or 5 leaves in one go. So that's how they actually grow upwards. I will insert some pictures, of course, to show you when that happens. It's really beautiful to watch. And there's these little sheets here that are dried off. I normally just peel them off when I can, because if you don't peel them off, I find that a lot of pests can hide inside the crevices. So yeah, go ahead and peel them off with the dried sheet. Also, it looks better on the plant when you do that. Of course, I've been neglecting this plant. I haven't done that in a while. So this plant in my hand has been with me for about a year, and I've had it in this pot the whole time. So let me actually take it out slowly and show you guys if, nope, it's not root bound yet, as you can see here. This plant doesn't need a lot of root space. It's not a huge, it doesn't contain huge roots. So keep them a little bit pot bound, because if you keep them in a big pot, you're bound to overwater it. You're leaving a lot of areas in the pots for fungus and bacteria to really thrive inside. And because when you have a tight pot, there's less area for them to party in, and any excess moisture will be absorbed by the plant faster. And the ficus plant, actually, they do fruit from the stem, which is really cute. And this particular plant is actually showing a lot of active growth points happening. Oh, I nicked something. There's a little bit of bleeding sap here. But yeah, it's showing me a few dormant buds that are appearing. So this plant may branch out very soon. And this is probably going to suggest to me that this plant may be stressed out, because plants usually will grow straight up. If you haven't seen my explanation in my apical dominance video, do check that out. But they do normally shoot all the way up unless something is stressed up here and it activates the branches in the lower nodes, as you can see here, it's happening. So in today's video, I'm going to propagate this many ways, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to air layer it, and disclaimer, it's going to be my first time doing it, so if I make a mistake, please pardon me. But I've seen a lot of people do it, and I know the theory in the back of my head. Just as with most of my propagation videos, I always do my research first, and when I show you guys on video, it's sometimes my first time doing that. So yeah, I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna do air layering, and then after a few months, I'm gonna cut this plant up into pieces. I'm gonna propagate in water and in potting mix, and we're gonna see different results. So yeah, come along. So I looked around the plant to find a suitable place to cut, and I found somewhere along the middle of the node, which is like right here, and there's a few leaves that actually fell off. So I'm gonna do the air layering here, and what I want to do is actually, so this is 2 nodes. The ring here suggests that that's where the leaves used to be. This is where the leaf used to be, and it fell off. So I want to do air layering between the nodes, and that's going to promote root to appear around here, and then I'm going to cut it above that. I'm using a new X-Acto knife, and you may want to use a thicker knife if you are your trunks are a bit thicker, but for this particular plant, it's got really thin trunk. Be very careful when you're handling the knife. So I'm going to strip off the bark here a little bit. Exposing the inside, so that's where the roots are going to come from. I hope I'm in frame. I'm using a revolving swiveling chair so I can rotate the plant easily. Okay, so why do we air layer? We air layer because woody plants like this, actually, they can propagate in water and directly into potting mix. However, they are prone to rot because the wood stems are so woody. So it's always a race against time, because you want this plant to root, and before it, gets rotten. So air layering is one way that you can actually root it before you cut the plant. It's a safer way to do it, to have more success. Proving to be very difficult. I'm using leftover plastic from sphagnum moss. So I had media in this plastic. I don't like throwing plastic away. I try to use them where possible. So this is one good way to use it. I'm gonna tie off the bottom. And I'm gonna start putting in some sphagnum moss. You can use potting mix directly, although you may need some kind of contraption to keep it in place, which I don't have. The sphagnum moss is actually already a little bit moist. I just want to cover that that section that we cut earlier. Okay, so you're gonna I'm going to tie this off, and then I should be able to see roots developing here over the next few days. I may water this now and then, just like have water go inside this this sphagnum moss, because I don't want it to dry out. So yeah, I'm gonna be back in a few weeks when the roots are ready to be formed, and I have a feeling I may need more moss, but you know what, I'm just gonna leave this be. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for roots to appear. I don't know how long or how much roots I'm gonna be expecting, and I'm going to cut up the rest of the plant into sections. I'm going to propagate them different ways too. So the air layering method is just going to be one of the ways that I propagate this plant today for you. Ooh, I forgot to add that the Ficus lyrata is very, very prone to bacteria and fungal attacks on the leaves. I don't see that many here, surprisingly, but a lot of my other ones do have it. This is little dots on the leaves, and my advice for you is to live with it, because this is part of owning one, is that they're not going to be perfect, beautiful leaves that are Instagrammable. They're going to have issues like this one right here. I believe this is fungus rust. I don't know the names of all the fungus and bacteria on the plants. There's too many of them. But my advice for you is that you should never miss this plant, especially indoors. They don't need humidity. I repeat, they do not need humidity, and misting doesn't really help much in terms of humidity for these plants. I'm gonna still look around for any more signs of, yeah, so they're not gonna have perfect leaves. If they're grown in their nursery conditions, yeah, you may have these beautiful perfect leaves, but once they come to your home, they're gonna be prone to spider mites or bacteria and fungals. And if you want to become a happy plant parent, you're gonna have to learn to accept the imperfections in your fiddle leaf figs, because they are not perfect creatures, just like us. None of us are perfect. So that's just a warning for you guys, because I know a lot of you are freaking out. My other advice is, if you're freaked out about all the little imperfections in your Ficus lyrata, is get more plants. Buy like hundreds of plants, so that you don't even have time to worry about that single leaf that's defect or damage rather, because this is again really part of the very normal part of having a Ficus lyrata. And also again, you want to clean the leaves once in a while, check for pests, and if it looks really bad, you may even want to spray this down with like a fungicide, because they will kill any fungus and also bacteria on the leaves. But I don't really think you need to do that, because plants actually, they have their own immune system. So as long as you're fertilizing them well, there's a lot of phosphorus and potassium in their fertilizing, they will develop their own immunity, and they will get used to your space. They will ward off any disease for the most part, unless, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone's living conditions, right? So yeah, again, I repeat this for the last time. Live with it. Live with the imperfections on your leaves. Be happy and be stress-free. So here's a 6 weeks update on the air layering. And I think I left this too wet. It's like soppy wet inside. I can see there's a lot of water pooled up. And I actually didn't check on this plant at all. I left it alone. Sorry, but the top looks fine. It looks like a healthy plant. The thing about having it too wet is that I may actually rot this portion of the stem here, which is not what I want to do. But let's see. Let's have a look. Moment of truth. Whoops. That fell right off. I see something here. I think this is roots. Yeah, I don't know what this is actually. What do you guys think? Yeah, I'm not sure. Or maybe I didn't leave it on long enough. Or maybe it's too wet, but the stem is fine. Nothing's rotten. It's still very solid and sturdy. So, you know what? I'm gonna plant this up I'm gonna be propagating this today because I don't have any time to waste. But next time maybe I'll use regular like potting mix in here and maybe monitor the wetness so it's not too sopping wet like this. If you can see here, the sphagnum moss is just dripping with water. Oh my god, so much water in here. How did all this water get in there? I don't know. Right. There. And I'm gonna leave this alone, this parent plant. Let it recover and let it branch out. It will push out a lot of nodes from below. Let me see. I think I already see something. No, maybe not. I see a little growth here. Maybe it is trying to put out a little bud or a few buds. I don't know. But anyway, so that's gonna recover. So basically back off with watering on that one because it doesn't have all these leaves to photosynthesize, so it doesn't need as much water. So I want to keep an eye out for that. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna cut this off. And then this is one of my cuttings, but I think this is too much stem. So as you can see here, I love this node. So that's one cutting as well. I'm very greedy, so I tend to do single leaf cuttings. So one node, one leaf. This one, the nodes are very close together, so I may actually have two nodes on that one. I'm gonna cut over here. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that as one cutting. And these sheets, we will definitely want to remove them because they will rot the cutting when you put the potting mix. Cut. Let me do this. I'm actually doing this with a Ficus elastica as well, and it's doing really, really well, which is why I'm very confident today with this cut. And this one, I'm gonna take one more. Yeah, I'm gonna put most of these directly into potting mix because, I don't know, my water propagation station is getting a bit crowded. And these guys, they do like a little bit of sun, so I wanna keep them outside where the sun is better. So yeah, I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna pot these up. So basically what you wanna do is, I'm gonna take my general potting mix, fill it with potting mix, and just stick it in. And that's it. And just water it whenever the top feels dry. Keep it a little bit like humid, but not sopping wet. Let it kind of dry out a little bit in between. So I did decide to clean the leaves because this is actually very pest prone, as I mentioned before, or I don't know, did I mention this before, but this one was actually attacked by scale a few times. So I'm not taking any chances. I don't see anything on the leaves here, but yeah, when you're propagating a plant, they're very weak. So they're a little bit more prone to pests. So I'm just using my insecticidal bar soap here. And it's the evening. Do not use this soap in the daytime. So it's 5 p.m. right now, so the sun is going down. Perfect. Now we have dust-free, pest-free leaves. I'm going to finish doing the rest. And then I'm going to pot them up and I'll show you what they look like. So I've got my general purpose potting mix here and I have them moistened up a little bit because it's impossible to pot these up when they're dry. And actually I've prepared some rooting hormone here, and not to sponsor this brand. I've actually never used this brand before. I used a gel form previously. So, but this is widely sold, so this must be pretty good. I guess there's so many brands of these. You guys have to try it out on your own. And yeah, I'm gonna get started. So basically I'm gonna take this and just dip the tip of the cutting with it. And just stick it in. There you go. Very easy. I want to make sure if there's any sheaths, I want to take them off. Ideally, I don't know if I can dip this in. Yeah, I can. I'm just gonna dip this in. This is much better actually. This is the top cutting. Take some of the sheath off here. This is actually very dangerous because it's got such a short node and it's got 2 leaves. So hopefully this will take root. Actually, I would normally have put this top cutting in water instead, but you know what? I'm just gonna do this in potting mix. So I'm done potting these up. I'm gonna do a quick count: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 2 that I'm gonna be rooting in water. So 13 cuttings and a parent plant. So let's see how they do. I will see you guys in a few months. Bye. So we are 1 week into the propagation, and this leaf broke off. It was in water propagation. It dried out, it broke off from the node, and this was in the water. I don't know how long it's been in there, but you can see here that there's a little nub trying to grow out of here, and that could be the new growth point. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave this on potting mix, general purpose potting mix. I'm gonna put it on the potting mix. I'm gonna push it down a little bit, but not bury the node. I'm just gonna push it down, have it be laying comfortably, and see what happens. I'd hope that this will take off. Here's a 4.5 months update on the water propagation. Unfortunately, all of them died except for this one. This is the only survivor. I remember that I kept some of the stumps in a different pot, but I have mislabeled the pot. I didn't label it at all, so I don't know where that stump went. So we have this, and I'm gonna pot this up because I think it's time. And in my experience with my other ficus plants, they don't really do well with water propagation. They do so much better with soil. So I'm gonna show you the other ones that were propagated into soil, and unfortunately, it's not looking that good. All right, let's look at the good news first. The parent plant here is doing really well. It put out one branch here. This is the second branch, so 2 branches here. It's put out a third, this one, and a fourth. So it's put out 4 branches totally. So they're doing quite well, and the leaves are very healthy, very cute. And I'm going to be enjoying a bushy plant. And I see another branch here that's happening. So it's gonna bush out quite a bit, which is really good. So if a lot of you guys are asking if you should stick a few ficus things in one pot, you don't really have to. You just need one, and then just let it branch out, so you'll get a full pot kind of look. And let me see, I think some of these may also activate, I'm not sure. Or maybe not, sorry. Yeah, but something may activate from up above here, but it is not likely, I guess, because a lot of things are already activating down below. So yeah, I'm gonna wait and see what happens. And then these guys, unfortunately, are not doing so well. So these are all the pots. Some of them are just empty pots. So yeah, this is mush. And let me try to dig around in there. Because I remember the second week after I potted these up, they yellowed up and they started falling off, which means it's a sign of overwatering, which could be very true because yeah, this is mush. Because these guys are in plastic pots, and it was in rainy season about 4 months ago. So they got rained on every day, and I guess that really didn't do them service. Yeah, they're all mush. So I'm gonna take these away, take this out. But then 2 of them did survive, so I only have a few that survived. I only have, this one is putting out a little bud here, very cute. There you go. So it's gonna put out a baby from here onwards. And then this is the apical bud. This is the top cutting. So it's going to put out more leaves from here. And usually the top cutting put out 3 to 4 leaves at the same time, so they'll just open up. So I have a few baby plants at least, so I'm not that sad with this experiment. But moving forward, my advice would be to give your cuttings maybe terracotta pot or keep them away from the rain. We really don't want, look at how soggy wet this is. I'm surprised that these 2 survived. These guys just did not survive. So do not water propagate them. They don't do so well in water propagation. It takes so long. You have a high failure rate. And then they also sometimes don't acclimatize that well into soil. So definitely do put them directly into soil, control the water, give it some direct sunlight, give it very good light for it to grow, roots and new leaves. And then that's it. But just keep in mind that when you propagate them, the parent plant is going to be very thankful. Look at all these bushy new growth. I'm really happy because I remember that in the past I just had this one plant that was like just falling over. So I'm really happy with this. I do need to fill this up with a little bit more potting mix, get it a little bit higher up. So yeah, I'm gonna do that and fertilize them and then just watch them grow. I guess I'm not gonna give you guys further updates because 4.5 months is ridiculously long. I do have many more plants that I need to focus on. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you guys are propagating and caring for your plants well. I'm at botanist on Instagram. If you want to DM me on any questions regarding plant care and propagations, I'll try my best to get back to you. Meanwhile, do take care and stay safe. I will see you in the next video. Bye.